Today we're talking about histamine intolerance, skin flushing, and estrogen. Stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is April, and on this channel I talk a lot about skin flushing, anxiety, exposure therapy, what may cause certain things to happen inside of our body that just make us feel incredibly insecure. We're trying to find answers to. Doctors haven't really been much of a help because these are things that are so broad that there's no one quick fix for it. So today we are talking about histamine intolerance and estrogen. So I'm just barely going to scratch the surface here. One of the things that I've noticed on my own journey with skin flushing is that my first thought was that I was having a histamine intolerance. So with a histamine intolerance, it's where you're basically having an allergic reaction to something inside of your system. And usually that is related to food or something in the atmosphere. So if you are doing a food journal or things of that nature, you go get an allergy testing, they'll be able to let you know if you're actually having a reaction to certain foods and environmental things. Some of the symptoms of histamine intolerance are things such as headache, gastro issues, hives and flushing, hot flashes. You can have raised bumps on your skin, or you can just have the actual splotchiness that I tend to get. There's increased blood pressure, a nasal congestion, things that just feel like natural allergies, or not natural, but you know what I mean, allergies and such. So a lot of those side effects come from a histamine intolerance. So for me, the interesting thing is that I would keep the food journal, and I've talked about this briefly, but I started to realize that I was on birth control pills for 20 years, besides getting off twice to have my children. And I never really noticed that I was having any issues with birth control pills. I didn't know that there were issues. I mean, obviously there can be side effects to anything, but I didn't pay attention to all that. But what I notice is that for me throughout my cycle is when I tend to have these increased flushing moments. And then there's days where I don't. Like, for instance, I just came off of my period a few days ago. So right now, I am not having flushing going on. I actually feel very calm in my body. Yesterday, I did videos. I did video conferencing with people at work. And normally that would create a little bit of flushing for me, depending on, what's going on. But I had no flushing whatsoever. I left outside of my cool home into the sun multiple times throughout the day. It's a very sunny, nice day. It was warm, and not once did I have flushing. And then also, I drank some alcohol yesterday and did not have flushing at all. Today, I just got off of another conference call with the whole company of 300 plus employees doing a webinar type meeting, and not once did I flush. I think I'll try to insert the picture. Let's see if it actually took a good picture. After I did my update, I might have gotten just a little bit of flushing, but you can barely see it. And it went up the side of my neck right here, and it just went away almost within a couple of minutes. It did not linger. I didn't feel hot or uncomfortable and very anxious and nervous inside of my own body. So that is all happening here these past couple of days. So I am fresh. I guess your cycle starts when you start your period, correct? That's the start of the cycle. So that's day 1 through. So what I'm going to do over the next 30 days until my next period is I'm going to track on a calendar when I'm flushing and where I'm at in my cycle. Because what I am really thinking, and I've thought this before, and I just haven't done as much research into it because I'm all over the place with what is causing the skin flushing and how are we going to deal with it, is that I believe that it spikes in estrogen, and the estrogen is what is making my body have that reaction. So that is a thing out there. So let me tell you a couple things. I wrote it down because I'm not an expert yet. So inside of your body, you have these receptors, H1, H2, H3, and H4. H1 and H2 are kind of similar. So H1, it has to do with your skin, your respiratory system, your uterus, and then H2 has to do with cardiovascular system, whatever that word is, and also your skin. H3 has to do with your central nervous system, and H4 has to do with bone marrow. So when histamine is released into your body, you have these receptors that take it in. As of right now, H1 and H2 do have blockers. They have medication such as antihistamines, Claritin, Benadryl, things of that nature. But for H3 and H4, central nervous system and your bone marrow, there is no blocker for that. So if you are having a reaction to estrogen or things inside of your central nervous system, which is what tends to be my issue, it seems like this is anxiety driven, but it's when I have spikes in estrogen or when I was on that birth control pill. I believe I was having an allergic reaction to the estrogen that was hitting my system. So when you're having an allergic reaction inside your central nervous system, and that histamine is binding to that H3 receptor, it can cause things to happen such as anxiety, OCD, insomnia, ADHD symptoms, panic attacks, just an overload of anxiety and things that have to do with the central nervous system, which is all in line with a lot of what I have going on. So when those spikes in estrogen are happening, what I think is happening is it's releasing the estrogen. There's a histamine reaction inside of my body, and those receptors just gobble it up, and there's nothing to block it. So you also, inside of your system, you have two enzymes that break down histamine and clear it out from the body, and that is diamine oxidase, also known as DIO, and then there's also, let's see if I can pronounce this properly, N-methyltransferase, which has to do with metabolizing, it's a metabolizing enzyme inside of the central nervous system. The biggest one is the diamine oxidase, is the one we most commonly hear about, and estrogen can tend to block that enzyme. So when there's an overload in estrogen, that enzyme gets blocked and your body is just freely flushing because of that. So I am just barely scratching the surface here. I'm going to do more research and just talk to you guys more as I'm learning more about that. But do you think that what you may be thinking is a allergy to a food or gluten or some sort of environmental allergen could actually be, if you're a woman, estrogen could actually be a birth control pill that you are on. So in November of 2019, I came off of my birth control pills because I wanted to see if that was part or the majority of where my problems were coming from. And I noticed almost immediately once I came off of those pills in a couple of weeks, it seemed like my system settled. It seemed like I totally thought I was ADHD, and then all of a sudden felt like I didn't have that, like, I gotta get somewhere, I gotta do something, I'm not doing enough, like this overwhelming go feeling inside of me that I just thought was normal. But when I came off of it, I noticed that my system was calmer. I was not overly just go. I don't really know how else to explain it, because it wasn't intrusive thoughts or crazy worry thoughts. It was just more like I just felt like my heart was beating fast a lot. I felt like my blood pressure was elevated all the time. I just felt really jittery, almost like when you had a caffeine overdose. I just felt like I was super jittery all the time. But when I came off of the birth control pills, that went away almost immediately, and my sleep got better pretty much immediately. I could actually sleep through the night. I didn't realize how much I was not sleeping until I came off of birth control pills. And then also some of the flushing, the constant feeling that I was hot and burning up went away almost immediately as well. But then throughout just random times, I feel like I'd go days without any flushing whatsoever, and then all of a sudden I'd have the flushing show up again. So I am telling you, I'm pretty sure it has to do with histamine intolerance and estrogen. So I'm going to do a little more research on that. But I told you that this week I would be talking about what causes the skin flushing and what we can do to prevent it. And there is no cure that I know of to just make it stop. And I think the biggest reason for that is because it's so hard to diagnose what's actually going on. If you look up skin flushing and what is the cause of my skin flushing, you will find so many scary medical terms for like Cushing syndrome and mast cell activation disorder, and you have a tumor and all these other things that will just scare the living shit out of you. But it could be food allergies, it could be environmental allergies, it can be not an allergy at all, it can be, there's so many things. Anxiety, do you have coping skills, do you have blah, blah, blah. So I think trying to identify what's actually causing the flushing is where people get a little drained and burnout and get that hopeless feeling to begin with. And that's why I created this channel, because as I was looking through finding answers, whether I ever really find them or not, I just wanted to at least be looking and also know how that we can manage ourselves in the meantime with exposure therapy and not letting something like that shut us down. So again, in the recap of today, when we're talking about histamine intolerance and the symptoms that really fall along the lines of just normal allergy symptoms, but could it be estrogen levels? Could it be an estrogen release that's then creating the histamine, which is then creating what looks like an allergic reaction inside of our body that has to do with that H3 receptor, which is part of the central, inside the central nervous system? I will continue to update you as I get more information. But it's just something for us to ponder today because, again, I did come off my birth control a few months ago and I felt better right away. I have not had the opportunity, especially with all the COVID-19 stuff going on, to be able to talk to a doctor again to just talk through some of these ideas and things that I'm discovering on my own. But I plan to continue to follow this journey and update you all as I go along. So that's what I have for you today. Hey, if this video was helpful to you or got you thinking about some different things in your life, but maybe you're having a histamine reaction, a histamine intolerance too, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps this channel by getting the video out there so that other people can know that they are not alone and that there is a community of people who are looking for answers in regards to skin flushing and things of that nature. So if you would like, please subscribe. Again, this week I will be posting more videos about why we flush and things along those lines. So if you'd like to stay in tune with those, then make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you know whenever I do make videos. And until next time, my friends, I will see you tomorrow.